can't tell you how happy I am today. Day 9, got the full sail plan up. I'm beating to windward at good angle. She's just planted, albeit on quite a flat sea, so it's cheating a little bit. I'm not having to smash through rollers, but she's just leaning over, sitting in that groove, and just piling along. We're doing it about 6 knots, 7 knots, which this tight to the wind's a really good effort. Heel very hard over, which is always a bit uncomfortable, and the whole boat just feels a little bit overpowered. You can feel it when you're down below. It feels like it's really difficult to explain. It feels like a quivering longbow. You just know you've got a lot of power going on, and it's not a very nice situation to go to sleep in. I'd happily sit up here and let it be that powered up. I mean, if I had someone with me, then perhaps we could do that, but I'm going to have to reef down before I go to sleep, otherwise I get no rest. And I've got to start preparing. It looks like 60 knots, 50 or 60 knots for this depression I'm going to hit on Saturday, and I basically just need to be these are the ground banks here along the left, and then this here's the Flemish Cap. I want to be through this gap here by tomorrow, and that is 270 miles away, so I need to crack on and get through that gap, get myself some open sea, and then see how she handles in a blow. It was always going to happen, and it looks like it's going to happen on day 11. First one. There'll be others. So. Saturday, day 10. I'm just about to clear the ground banks of the Flemish Cap, and we got a big swell building this evening in the sun. It's been a beautiful day, lots of lovely solar, and we're running downwind about 140 degrees under full main or reefed main, staysail and Genoa. But the swell's coming in. The reason that swell's coming in is because overnight at about 0200 we're expecting 40 to 50 knot winds to pile in, and this swell is indicative of that. So I'm going to reef down now. We're hitting about 20-25 knots real wind speed at the moment, so I'm going to take the main down to double reefed. I'm probably going to roll away the Genoa altogether, and that'll allow us to lie further downwind, and that reduces the apparent wind speed on the boat, and will make it feel a little bit less windy when the wind comes in. But I basically want it all snugged down for the evening. So the main's down to 2 reefs. The Genoa's all but rolled up. There's a little scrap of it left out, but I can do that from inside the cockpit. So if I need to reverse that, that's not really an issue. The only question mark remains if the mainsail is going to stop me going very far downwind. If it does, then I'll just have to get it down. It won't be much fun, but it's perfectly doable. This is why mainsail should have a 3rd reef. So look how big it still is. You know, that still goes above the 2nd spreader. Really, I want another reef there, so I can turn it into a tiny little triangle just for balance, trim. Right, 6 hours into the storm. It's just got light. The boat's been pretty good by and large. I've been downstairs, I've done everything I can upstairs. She's sailing herself. It's been a rough ride. I've done everything I could, but then suddenly water started coming through the skylight. So basically it's not sealed, it's just a joint which comes down. Water can't fall through it, but if green water rushes over the deck and like surges underneath that joint and up and then splashes down, so I got a whole wave in my face as I slept, which was quite unpleasant. This is what a 40-knot storm in the North Atlantic looks like. Big waves, big surfs down those waves, and then occasionally getting smashed by the breakers. Yeah, it's pretty tasty out here. Supposed to be getting better, and it's getting worse. And these waves they're just monstrous. Tiny staysail up over my shoulder there. We're going through the water about 9 knots just under that staysail. Got about 40 knots of wind. Down to about 30-35 knots. The waves are still pretty big, but they're not particularly dangerous. They're sort of breaking at the tops, but they're certainly not big enough or steep enough to pose any threat to the boat. It's just that she's got wet inside a little bit because of that ruddy skylight. But I expect that this wind will now diminish throughout the day. It's supposed to have sort of tailed off by the evening. And actually the risk then becomes this evening when the seas will probably still be here, but the wind won't be there. So it'll be important to try and keep stable in big seas and lower winds. But then it should knock off altogether by tomorrow. So, well, you find me tonight in the aftermath. It's the evening of day 11. The aftermath of the storm. It's calmed down a bit. I've got the main up, and so we're sort of heading in the right direction, sort of again. And the seas are starting to calm down. I had to charge the batteries anyway, so the engine had to go on. I've got this neat little trick where the engine is in there, but I can open the doors here and here, and then I use the companionway as a drying rack, and hopefully I can get a bed in a dry boat, a dryish boat. Good morning, it is the morning of day 12, and we're under engine because we're just in a little wind hole. There's a really good wind coming later on in an hour or two, and I'm just getting the important stuff done. Starting to empty the fridge. Myself some bacon and my last avocado for breakfast. Bit of avocado, some bacon, and my last cherry tomatoes. That's what I call a breakfast. So here I am in the middle of the Atlantic, day 12. It's all going well. It's just quite frustrating at the moment. You know, we're just averaging quite crap days runs. I've got 1,200 miles to run to Northern Ireland, which, oh look, we've got some dolphins. Morning. Go and have a look at them. Kind of thing that happens whilst you're having breakfast out here, which is quite nice. I don't think they'll stay very long. A boat puttering along at 3 knots isn't much fun for them. They're going to find a big cargo ship. They're going to find a big cargo ship that's throwing a big bow wave at 13 knots. Have much more fun with that. Anyway, looking forward to the wind filling in a couple of hours. Well, after being joined for breakfast by the dolphins, we finally seem to have found ourselves some champagne sailing conditions. We've had a couple of days of absolute muck, not to mention quite a strong countercurrent, and now we've got 13 knots on the nose, well, pretty much on the nose, all the sails up and drawing. We're cracking along at 7 or 8 knots again. So nothing ever lasts for very long, but at the moment we are cracking along, which is good. Still got 1,200 miles to go to Ireland, and we've been dithering a bit, so looking forward to cracking on. We have been absolutely carving it up since noon. We've done 7 hours since the noon sight at 12:41, and we've done 56 miles. That's 8 knots average, or 57 actually, which is just over 8 knots, which is wildly fast for a boat of this type. But we've got this quite strong wind, so about 20 knots. Really nice sailing wind, 20 knots. One reef in the main. But it's going to be consistently that until the next noon. So a really good 24 hours to have a go at a good day's run. But it's got really cold. You can see I'm in my fleece and my woolly hat. I think the air temperature has followed the sea temperature down now that we're in the Labrador, well, the northern bit of the North Atlantic, and the Labrador current has come down from Greenland with all the cold water, and I think the air temperature's just followed it. And you can see it's a horrible drizzly night out there, full visibility, which just means good morning. Well, this storm sees us at about 51 degrees north, about 33 degrees west, so that's about 800 miles west of Ireland, and start of our 3rd week, and hopefully we'll be safely in Firth of Clyde by the end of this week. We've just had a good run up to the north this last night, and now we are just getting into the influence of the Westerlies. So we've cracked off the wind, let the sails out a bit, and we're now tracking at a wind angle of about 130 degrees across and downwind. And now the Westerlies should fill in over our left shoulder now, and give us an express train ride that won't be very comfortable, but will be quick, all the way into the British Isles if the weather forecast are to be believed. But a really good night last night. I had a tough couple of days, and last night I was up 3 or 4 times to adjust the course. Well, I got a solid 8 hours sleep in around that, so I'm feeling a new man. Well, good morning. It's the morning of day 17 at sea, and the third or fourth day of just some strong winds. Unfortunately, blowing directly where I want to go, to the north of Ireland. So I'm struggling to get the boat to lie far enough downwind. She's not very balanced. She doesn't have a third reef in her main, and so if you're going to have any main up, then it's too much, and then she wants to round up into the wind. So I'm going to go and drop the main and try under stay sail, and if that doesn't work, then I'm going to tack, or jibe, sorry, and come south a bit. It's frustrating because I'm going in a right old clip, but I can't go in exactly the right direction. I already tried the experiment of having just the main out on the boom, and it's just, the boat doesn't like it. So I've got all togged up, I'm going to get pretty wet, and I'm going to go and drop the main and see how the stay sail does. You would have seen a lot of faffing about there. I finally come up with some sort of downwind setup. So now the setup I've gone with, which is a classic, I'm a bit worried about the forces involved, but I've got the full genera out, but rather than sheeting it down to the side there, I've got it sheeted out around the turning block at the end of the boom, down to here and onto the winch. And what that does is it keeps the clew further out, which means I can run further downwind. It keeps the sail flatter against the wind, which means I can run directly away from it. But anyway, just another morning messing around with the sails. Really well. We're absolutely creaming along at 9 knots, but we got the seas on a quarter, and we just took an enormous wave. Came down through the hatch, so I'm going to put the storm cap on the air vent, but also I'm fairly sure we've lost a solar panel, so I'm just going to go up top and see what other damage we might have. Oh, solar panel didn't enjoy that. I know the camera doesn't really show the waves, but actually I'm not seeing anything that's, you know, touch wood, particularly worrying me. I think we're just really unlucky. You know, if you're going at 10 knots and you veer wildly into the crest, even a small breaking wave, you're talking about tens of tons of water, and it's just, I mean, it's bent this metal pole like a twig. It's actually quite a neat job. I couldn't have stowed it better if I tried. One of these numbers coming in from the right, which is bigger and braking, and just caused us a wallop. But this is, you know, that's, we're getting 10 knots here. It's too quick really. But I wish I had another reef that I could put in that mainsail. It's too big. I don't really want to take it down altogether, but I may be forced to. funny old lark, this sailing business. You spend half your time without an upwind, and then for about 15 minutes you go, oh, this is amazing, I've got exactly the right wind. You go, oh, this is a bit much actually. Oh no, wait, it's starting to break things. Oh, the boat's filling up with water. Oh, dear. Oh my god. So it's all a bit of an emotional roller coaster. But hey, makes things interesting. I want to go as fast as we can for as long as we can, just because I'm bored. I want to finish. So we'll stick with it for the moment. If it gets too tasty, we'll bring the main down. It is Monday the 19th, so day 19, and the sun's back. So after 6 days of North Atlantic grimness, no solar power, no astronavigation, no nothing, the sun's out. The waves are still horrible, but the sun's out and we're almost there. So it looks like we're going to arrive Thursday morning, and I'll just show you where we are. So here are the western approaches. We're going up to the Firth of Clyde up here, and at the moment we are just here. So we've got, that's about 300 miles to cover. We'll get the majority of that done before noon tomorrow. We've got some heavy weather coming in, so I suspect we'll do a 170, 180 mile day between the noon that's just happened and this noon, the noon tomorrow, and then we'll run in on Wednesday. Take it slowly. Overnight on Wednesday we'll be going around the top of Northern Ireland and into the Irish Sea, and then get to the marina very first thing on Thursday morning. Crack o' dawn. Still a fairly big sea running, fairly messy. But a lot more pleasant after a fair amount of grimness. I've only got 3 days left, so it's fine, but I've taken too many waves into the cockpit now. I'm running out of non-salty clothes, and I have run out of non-salty bedding, so it's all a bit damp and miserable. I'm looking forward to my first hot shower, but hey, it's just glorious to be cutting around in this sort of weather. Oh, good evening. It's the evening of day 19. So we're going to get hit tonight and tomorrow. Tonight it's going to go up to about 30, gusting 35, and then tomorrow it's going to really hit and gusting 45. And I've taken the decision, we're no longer in a huge rush, so I'm going to put the staysail up and have a good night's sleep with no sail changes required. So yeah, into the sunset for the staysail. Well, this is the Atlantic having her final fling at me, a 40-knot rip snorter. I prefer to be down here, but go on deck to fix a solar panel, so up we go. So currently the boom is being held just out of the way where I want it, but it's on this one line that's led through blocks. If that line goes, the boom could smash through and take out my running backstays. So I'm going to double it up with another line through to here. Belt and braces. This is pretty spicy. evening. It is the evening of day 20 and it's my last full day at sea. I'm going to be out tomorrow night. I won't be back. Well, good evening. It's the evening of day 20. It's my last night at sea. Tomorrow night I won't have arrived yet, but I'll be in amongst the further climb. It's been a pretty tough 30 hours. I mean, you've seen it already, but the strong winds were something, but they were all right. The waves that they brought are just awful. Basically, we've got the big swell coming from behind us. There's also a really big swell coming from the right, and if that weren't enough, there's also another swell coming from the left. The one from the north is almost as big as the one that's behind me and is breaking, and so I'm just getting rolled. My head's rolling off my shoulders. The wind's starting to drop now, but these waves won't. And I mean, you can just see it's not the side to side which is the problem. It's that because the side to side is getting induced by waves that are hitting us, so we're also sliding and getting punched one way or the other. It's that lateral movement which is really bad. There's one of the waves going the wrong way. Oh. So, there you go. A perfect example, of course on film, of a wave coming from the north and then from the south, almost rocking us over to 40-50 degrees, despite the fact the main swell is directly behind us and coming this way. Bloody ocean, it never wants to let go. Morning. It's the morning of day 21 at sea. I'm starting to reach the end of my endurance, to be honest. Yesterday afternoon I was 30 hours into a 40 knot screamer and I had 3 or 4 hours off at about midnight. Went down, it was all feeling quite good and manageable. I thought I'd go get sleep, and I've just come up and it's just screaming 30 knots again. I've got too much sail up, but I don't have a third reef, which is so irritating. So I can't really reef down the main. I've got to take it down altogether if it's too much, and it currently is. I mean, look at that. That's severe weather helm. That's the autopilot desperately trying to compensate for too much main. In about 10 or 15 miles I should be behind the Irish coast, and then I might escape some of this swell. So I don't really want to slow down and mince now. I want to get behind that protection. But it's going to be a bit of a race, because once these waves, at the moment we're just barreling across them, once they start breaking then it becomes a bit dangerous, because then yeah, we could then get broadsided. But yeah, I'm just knackered. I've not slept in 3 or 4 nights really properly, and the weather is just disgusting. The North Atlantic's just been disgusting for the past ages, and you just don't, like, the cumulative fatigue's quite bad when you're on your own. That's where we're going, that's the waypoint. Once you're around this headland, we should be protected from the worst. Welcome to Ireland. So I should have made my landfall. I'm 5 miles offshore. and I can't see bugger all. The weather is disgusting. I was expecting a slight increase in wind speed to 20 knots, possibly 25. Currently got 35, and yeah, the boat's way too overpowered. I'm gonna have to take the main down. Yeah, it's just disgusting. I just can't catch a break. I had that 4 hours of beautiful sailing last night after 48 hours of a storm, and literally I had 4 hours off, and now the next system's hit me.
That 4-hour break in the weather was much more ominous than I had realised at the time. A few hundred miles behind me, ex-Hurricane Ernesto was barrelling towards the British Isles. I knew the weather was getting bad again, but I was blissfully unaware that I was going to reach the Irish Sea at the same time as the biggest storm of the year, with winds in excess of 90 knots. In confined and shallow waters, this was highly dangerous, and as yet, I didn't know it.
So I'm a little bit like, what's the guy got to do to get a break? I'm going to go reef the main. It's a pretty disgusting condition, so you can watch and have a laugh at me. I'm 22 days out of Massachusetts, and I've made landfall at Inchtrahal Island off the north coast of Ireland. And those are the Tor rocks, and you can probably, or maybe you might not be able to make out, but there's a lighthouse on the island. That was the landfall, so it's a good landfall. It's very easy these days with GPS, of course. I need to work my way around them to get into the Irish Sea. Gales are forecast this evening. I received a radio warning about severe gales, so I basically want to smash it through into the Firth of Clyde before the gale really sets in, if I can. So once I get behind these rocks, I'm going to pop the staysail up, get some main up, and start reaching towards Kintyre. Islands there, and I have to say it's thrilling to be near the end, but I don't really have a sense of achievement yet, because I think this last 20-hour period is going to be pretty tough, so I'm saving my enthusiasm when I'm tied up, but for the moment I'm just loving these sort of North Atlantic coast Irish rocks, properly bleak.
That evening, I slipped over the top of Northern Ireland and entered the Irish Sea. Around midnight, I passed the Kintyre Peninsula in building winds. I had entered the relatively protected and shallow waters of the Firth of Clyde, when I got hit by storm Ernesto. I clocked over 65 knot gusts coming from the south. Enclosed water is the worst place to get hit by weather like this. You haven't got the sea room to run downwind, so I was forced to try tacking across the mouth of the Firth of Clyde. This forced me to stay on my feet to avoid falling asleep. I would have run aground at either end of the 9-mile strip of water. At each tack across it, I would go up top in apocalyptic conditions to get the boat around. Exhausted, at 4 AM, I took all the sails down and lay a hull until dawn. As a sailor, there was plenty I could have done better, but as an aspiring videographer, I make no excuses that I haven't a shred of footage to share with you of this night. The safety of myself and the boat were the obvious priority. Frankly, I had reached a stage of sleep deprivation where I was hallucinating.
All morning, day 22. I'm lying a hull in the Firth of Clyde, although my lash has come undone. I had a 50-knot storm when I was in the Firth of Clyde last night, which is pretty grim. It's still here, still sort of 30 knots. But I'm going to go down to the marina and see if I can't tie up. Can't stay here forever. Well, perhaps it's worth explaining what happened last night. I was supposed to just come and drift slowly in to be at large this morning. I got into the Firth last night around Kintyre and completely unforecasted this big storm Ernesto had arrived. It wasn't forecast to be so bad. Forecast to be sort of 15-20 knots. I had 50-knot winds last night and I couldn't drift slowly because the winds were too high. With no sails up, I was being pushed at 8 knots, and then I would have ended up at the end of the Firth with 50 knots up my chuff, and so I really couldn't go up here where I'm going now. I'm motoring now to the marina, so I ended up doing tacks across the bay, but just the pressure on the sails was so intense and I wasn't very happy about it. And anyway, eventually at about 4 o'clock I realised I should take the sails down, lash the tiller hard over to tiller to lee, or helm to weather, and just ride it out on the side, which is okay. And a pretty shit night. I've torn the genoa a bit. The rigging's pretty loose. I got a good thrashing last night. It's so frustrating. You get in after 22 days at sea, like job done, and you get smashed by an unforecasted storm in protected waters where you can't just run away from it. So I'm a bit jaded, just didn't get any sleep, so I'm now about 48 hours without sleep, and yeah, it's really sapped my enjoyment for this arrival, frankly. There we go. C'est la vie. Well, just coming in now, all that's left to do is put my fenders out and get the lines ready, and then bird up. Just going up the Clyde now. It's rather picturesque. Nice to view some land, but the wind have disappeared.